Okay, it is 7 p.m. and I'd like to call this meeting to order. While this meeting is being held in person, we are also offering the option for the public to participate through Zoom if preferred. Instructions on how to participate virtually are included in the City Council calendar item listed on the front page of missionks.org. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Robin, please call the roll.
Thomas. Here. Boltinghouse.
Here.
Loudon.
Here.
Ryard. Here. Pring.
Here.
Inman.
Here.
Josie.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
All right, we do have a revised agenda for tonight's meeting, so I would entertain a motion to approve our revised agenda.
Mayor, I move the city council approve the revised agenda, revised July 19th, 2023 agenda as printed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Robin, please call roll.
Josie.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Loudon.
Aye.
Pring.
Aye.
Thomas.
Yes.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Ryard. Aye. Motion carries.
Because we do not have any public hearings tonight, we will move into our special presentations. We do have several special presentations this evening. Our first presentation is recognition of the retirement of Dr. Raymond Brill of Brill Eye Center. Dr. Brill's career began as a division optometrist at Fort Riley before he started working to build his dream of a private practice in Mission. He has been providing excellent professional eye care in Mission for over 40 years. Dr. Brill has been present for so many great moments as an eye care professional and has shaped many lives here in Mission. We wish Dr. Brill great success in his retirement and thank him for his commitment to building a thriving and vibrant business in the city of Mission. If you'd like to make a comment, please do so.
Yes, thank you so much. I feel like I could have brought it.
We always accept cupcakes.
So you okay if I add? So yes, we started here in 1983 after I was in the Army as an optometrist, and I was looking for a place, just some place to set up a private practice. And so I met with Wendy Peck. I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but she was with the Chamber of Commerce, and it was in the Mission Mart Plaza, and she was so friendly and everything. I found a place right on Johnson Drive, 5911 Johnson Drive. It was just adjacent to the Fine Arts Theater at that time, and spent 20 years there. It expanded to double the space, and then so we were from 83 to 2003. Then moved into our two-story office building at 5820. And I thought at that time, build it, no come. Of course, I didn't realize that strength fired 30,000 people, major vacancy for a long time, and try to provide the best possible care. And I'm trying to calculate how many patients I've seen since then. It's really about 200,000 patients. So that with associates, and my wife Debbie, who's been by my side the whole time. So 200,000 patients, a few hundred employees, and just in 40 years. So it's hard to summarize that level of work, but I don't like the word expect. I still have to do this. But I would call it independence. We had Independence Day, and that day I had Independence Week. So now it's hard for people to know a minute by minute schedule for 40 years. But it's something that not so many people do. And in 2022, we were honored as being one of 10 best practice honorees in the country. So recognized by my colleagues out of like 40,500. So it's been a really nice career, and I'm still going to be active in the profession, and it'll be something that falls in under mission and the people here and people that go far and wide to just come to us. So I appreciate being here and having you on in this way. Thank you.
All right, our second presentation tonight is a proclamation declaring July as Parks and Recreation Month. Parks and Recreation is vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. Parks and Recreation programs build healthy, active communities and increase a community's economic prosperity. So as we proclaim this as Parks and Recreation Month, I encourage all of you to enjoy our many facilities, parks, and programs, and thank Director Almany and his staff for their important work. Penn, would you and any members of your staff like to come forward to receive the proclamation? Yeah.
I'm just gonna smile.
There we go. We can go back to step two. Yeah. I think my brain's going right on a happy hour. That's what I feel. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so much for that.
Is it going? No. Always.
All right, our third presentation tonight is the introduction of our new Parks and Recreation Coordinator. Penn, will you please make the introduction?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to invite up Misty Town. Please join me here and introduce you to our newest Parks and Recreation full-time program coordinator, Misty Town. She's got extensive experience beginning, I guess, somewhere close to Kansas City, Missouri area, most recently from Oregon. And then we were lucky enough to convince her to come back to the heartland here in Mission. So one of her most dynamic skills is singing. She's part of a band called Big Damn Deal.
A big damn deal.
A big damn deal. And she most recently shared her talents during summer camp with our youth and was doing participating in a talent show with each of them. So that was pretty fun. But she's got a standing invite with anyone who's interested. One of her passions is pickleball. So anytime you'd like to challenge Misty, she'll take you on. But Misty, is there anything you'd like to share?
Just that I'm super excited to be here. You have stolen me from the Johnson County Park and Rec, and I'm already loving what I'm experiencing here. So really pleased about the opportunity to be a part of the community and just to see what we can grow, and huge plans on how we need our own indoor pickleball facility. Please talk to me. I'm all for it. Okay. So thank you all so much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, our final presentation tonight is a presentation from BT&Co on the 2022 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. Laura, will you please make your presentation? And I think we might have some guests as well. Oh, Brian.
This will be the last audit I introduce. So, as you all know, our financial or fiscal year closes out on December 31st, 2022. And at that point, we begin the official auditing of the books. In the past, Debbie Long, our accounting manager, has assisted in that process, and she has done the heavy lifting. She left in January, right as we were starting the process. So I've been doing it by myself this year, kind of holding down the fort with some other responsibilities. So it's taken longer than it should have, frankly. And that's kind of why we're here tonight, as opposed to usually coming in May. But anyway, the task is completed and the auditors are here to present the report. I would just say that the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States of Canada, known as GFOA, has awarded a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting to the city for the past 27 years. And we'll be submitting this audit again to that organization for consideration of that award. This audit has also been done in conformance with the Kansas Municipal Audit Guide, as well as the Comptroller General, it's called the Yellow Book of the United States, and then General Accepted Accounting Practices, and as well as the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. So there's a lot of different kind of regulatory agencies or bodies of professional practice that provide some guidelines and processes for performing the audit. And all this is in compliance with that. So without any further ado, I will hand it over to Stacy Hammonds and Dusty Wagner, who are the auditors that performed on this, and they'll report out.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. I'm Stacy Hammond. I'm a partner at BT&Co and the partner on the city's financial statement audit. With me tonight in the audience is Dusty Wagner, also a partner at our firm, and he acts as the manager on this audit. I believe all of you have received a report addressed to the mayor and members of the city council, which really puts into writing items that our audit standards require us to present about the results of your annual financial statement audit. If you have that with you and would like to open it up and follow along, the first thing I need to visit about is our responsibilities in performing the audit, which were to perform the city's financial statement audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, as well as standards set forth in the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide. Those standards require us to perform procedures to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the city's financial statements are free from material misstatement. The procedures that we performed included examining on a test basis evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. We also reviewed the accounting principles that management of the city uses and the significant estimates made by management, as well as evaluating the overall financial statement presentation. The most important thing that I'll be telling you tonight is that as a result of performing those procedures, we did determine that the city's financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Therefore, we issued what we call an unmodified audit opinion, which is the best kind of opinion that the city can receive. Moving on to the accounting policies and practices section of the report. Here we would let you know about any changes in existing accounting policies, newly adopted accounting policies, significant or unusual transactions, or significant estimates. There's only one item in this area that we need to report this year, and it relates to significant estimates. The city does have several significant estimates that are summarized in the summary of significant accounting estimates chart on page 4 of your report. Those are the total other post-employment benefits liability and the net pension liability related to the city's participation in CAPERS. Our responsibility as auditors is to look at the process that management of the city has in place to measure and record those accounting estimates. If you look at the column on the far right next to each estimate, we do conclude related to each estimate that the city does have a reasonable process in place to measure and record each of those two accounting estimates. We did make a couple of audit adjustments as a result of our audit this year. The city generally operates on a cash basis throughout the year because that's how the accounting software is set up. And so the city provides us with journal entries in order to convert to the modified accrual and accrual basis of accounting that your financial statements are presented on. And that's what those adjustments relate to. The final sections on pages 2 and 3 of your report are where we would discuss or document any concerns or issues that might have arisen during the audit related to whether we'd had any disagreements with management, any significant difficulties, or any significant consultations or anything like that. And I'm pleased to report that there's nothing in any of those areas that we need to report this year. Management of the city was extremely cooperative throughout the entire audit process, as well as transparent in answering the numerous questions that we had. We've also included at the end of the report to the mayor and city council a letter that's a few pages long and it has a bunch of numbered items on it. We call that management's representation letter. And that letter really puts into writing everything that management of the city represented to us throughout the course of the audit. We like to include that in the packet to you so that you can see what management did represent to us during the audit. And we think that it helps you to fulfill your fiduciary responsibilities as well and being able to look at that. With that, I would like to turn it over to questions. First, I would like to thank Brian. This year was a difficult year to do the audit due to the turnover in accounting staff, and along with his regular responsibilities, he had to undertake getting ready for us to do the audit as well, which is a significant undertaking. So we really appreciate the amount of work that went into that. With that, I would turn it over for questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? All right. Well, thanks to you and the internal team for all the hard work on this.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
And you do have this is an action item under new business on your agenda. We just formally accept the audit each year and then will submit it to the various agencies who require that.
Oh, yeah, Debbie?
Just a quick comment. Thank you, Brian. You've done so much this year. And keeping up with that audit is really important for the city's credibility, and we really appreciate you.
All right, we do not have any items related to the issuance of notes and bonds this evening, so we will move into our consent agenda. Our consent agenda has 8 items tonight. Our council committees met on July 5th and fully discussed each of these items. The committees agree that the items listed on our consent agenda are routine enough to be considered under a single motion. If a council member or member of the public would like any item removed from the consent agenda, they may request that at this time. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, I move the city council adopt the consent agenda as printed, items 4A through 4G.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Inman. Loudon.
Aye.
Shosse.
Aye.
Ryard. Aye. Davis.
Aye.
Thomas.
Yes.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Pring.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Next, we move into public comments. If any members of the public would like to make a comment on items that are not included on our agenda tonight, now would be the time. If you are participating through Zoom, please either add your comment in the chat feature and it will be read out loud, or note that you would like to speak and we will call on you shortly to make your comment verbally. Please remember your comments or questions are visible to everyone in the meeting. If you are part of our in-person group tonight, please raise your hand but stay seated and we will call on you to come to the lectern to make your comments. When you make your comment, please state your name and city of residence for the record. Also be conscientious of others trying to speak and speak slowly and clearly. If I need to confirm something that may have been difficult to hear, I will ask for clarification. Again, this is the time for items not on our agenda. I see a hand. Please come on up.
Hi, my name is Kim Donaway and I am a Mission resident long-term. So comments, I am not in favor of raising the mill levy.
Kim, I'm going to interrupt you.
Oh,
That
sorry,
item
that's
is on
wrong
our
thing.
agenda tonight.
Wrong
So
one.
there will be an opportunity to speak to agenda items as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
All right, this is one where here in the city, the mayor, city council and developers and staff expect residents to subsidize new developments, new housing projects for what, 30 years with tax abatements and TIF projects and all this stuff. And that's part of the issue with us longtime residents having to burden cost. And I don't believe any corporate welfare should be given to any developer at this point. The other is, and I've seen it not just in the city, but I see it in the county and some of the other government facilities. I'm in an industry where I see everything. I'm in every industry. And I ask this question when I hear cities, businesses complain, county, I brought it up to them. Do you have a written policy prohibiting personal cell phone use by employees? Because when I watch, when I'm back at the house looking at things and people are on their personal cell phones that I'm paying for, I have an issue. Because they should clock out if they want to be on their personal cell phone. So if the city of Mission doesn't have a personal cell phone use written out of what's allowed and not allowed, I would entertain, maybe it's time. Because I brought it up to the county too when I spoke with them. Because I don't believe any of our tax dollars should be going to personal cell phone use when they're supposed to be doing city time or county time, you know, doing the work for what they're being paid for. Other than that, thank you.
Okay. Yes, Ken?
Can I just make a minor correction? We did the consent agenda through 4G. It should have been through 4H to be accurate.
for the North Breezeway wood staining. Should be on
Yes.
the agenda, consent agenda.
Is that what it was?
Do we need a new
Then no.
motion,
Then just correct the lettering.
clerical error? So no action needed on the Scrivener's error. Okay, great. Okay, we do have two items tonight coming forward from the Planning Commission. The first is consideration of a preliminary development plan for Swig Soda Shop at 5959 Barclay Street. Brian, will you please provide your report?
We have our planner.
Surprise.
I'll let her do that.
It's been a while. It's good to be in here. I haven't been able to present in here before, so it's a lot cozier. Okay, so this is the Swig drive-through soda shop. It has a walk-up window, vehicle parking, extensive landscaping. I'm gonna make this shorter than I usually do. I'm kind of learning as I go to summarize a little bit here. So I know you're already aware of this project too. So the property is on almost 3/4 of an acre lot at Martway and Barclay, where there's a current gazebo and they do plant sales in the spring. Basically, it's been vacant since Backyard Burger closed. Development did not completely conform to the form-based code. This is in the form-based code district, but it is hard to develop on less than an acre with the form-based code, as you may know. And the development team did really work closely with staff to match the intent of the form-based code, especially, the setbacks, reducing those setbacks, closing a vehicle entrance, and all that to improve the pedestrian realm. The development team responded to staff requests to conform with the municipal code for drive-through access away from the main pedestrian paths. But the project does not conform to the part of the code that requires that customers come into the establishment and sit down and have service within the facility. That was one of the main municipal code nonconformities. Per staff request, though, the applicant also added EV charging, bike racks, and added an internal pocket park, outdoor seating, and no idling signage. They also met with the Sustainability Commission, which gave them a gold rating. And during the Planning Commission public hearing, no one from the public had comments on this project, and the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval with the 7 conditions in the staff report. And that's all I have. All right, any questions? Or sorry, first we will see if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on this issue. Any hands online, Emily?
We do have the design team here too.
Oh, okay. Yes, Kim, come on up.
Kim Donaway, Mission, Kansas. This is exciting because that's been a dead spot for a long time. So that will also help us with our sales tax revenue. One thing I always look at is water and water drainage and waste of water in the commercial district. So that is something that I hope they have addressed. If nobody's brought it up, I'm all over a 250-mile range and I'm seeing a lot of waste. And water is a precious commodity nowadays. So something to remember with all developments now.
Yeah, I don't know, Carrie or the design team, if you want to speak to the sustainability scorecard or other elements.
Okay. Yeah, so we're actually decreasing quite a bit the impervious surface on the site, and that will help quite a bit. Like the extensive landscaping will help tremendously with the drainage and runoff on the site. So from what we have now, it will definitely decrease the infrastructure, impact on infrastructure. So.
And there were native
else to add?
plantings too, is that correct? Native plantings on the site as well?
It'll be native, yeah. With the final development plan, we'll make sure that everything's native, non-invasive, that sort of thing.
Great. All right, we'll now open the floor for council discussion. Any comments or questions for the team? Yeah, Debbie?
They did speak to the Sustainability Commission, of which Hillary and I are members. And they did a great job in explaining what they're going to do and how their sustainable practices will behoove the city. So we appreciate that presentation.
Okay.
Mayor?
Oh, yes, Ben.
Yeah, I'd like to take a chance to speak, and sorry, I can't be there in person tonight, not feeling real well, so I'm gonna keep it short, but this is a proposal that concerns me. Because even despite the form-based code, being difficult to work to on a small site, and our willingness to be, I think, more flexible toward that aspect, I still think there is a lot of deviation from what we expect and from what we would like to see on this particular parcel in this part of town. I'm mainly concerned that, while they've done a fantastic job trying to address our concerns and needs, it's still fundamentally a car-oriented, very low-density development, and I just don't find that appropriate for this part of the city. And I think establishing some kind of precedent, I guess, to say that we can give a gold sustainability rating to something that I think really goes contrary to our climate action goals is not good either. For those reasons, I'm not a fan of this project.
Okay, any other comments or questions from council? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
No, there should be a motion, should there not?
Oh, yes, a motion would be helpful. Sorry about that,
Mayor-
everybody.
Mayor, I move the city council approve the preliminary development plan for Swig Soda Shop at 5959 Barclay Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And yeah, Hillary?
Yeah, I was just hoping, Carrie, could you just confirm there's going to be a electric vehicle charging station on site, correct? And also signage that will encourage folks not to let their vehicles idle?
Yes.
Fantastic. Just wanted to
Yes,
confirm
so
that.
one charging space in the, I believe it's 6 parking spots on site.
Okay.
And then, yes, no idling signs. Hopefully people will shut their cars off if there's long queues.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Robin, now please call the roll.
Green,
Aye.
Josie,
No.
Boltinghouse,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Loudon,
Aye.
Thomas,
Yeah.
Inman,
Aye.
Ryder,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, thank you. The final item for consideration from the Planning Commission is approval of the preliminary development plan for Waterworks Park at 5814 West 53rd Street. Carrie, will you please provide the report?
Thank you, Mayor. I know you all are very well aware of this project, and so I'm going to keep this ultra short. But first I want to say that Penn, this time around, working with Waterworks Park, the project for Waterworks Park with Penn was very smooth, much more efficient than with the Mohawk Park project, and it's just been a great interaction, and working together has been great. So looking forward to doing more. With this project, the Planning Commission approved it unanimously, of course, with the 7 conditions that were in the staff report. I won't go through all of those, but there was one included condition that the Planning Commission did want to see. And that was the connection to Russian Elementary, shown that is a feasible connection. It wasn't quite lining up with the preliminary development plan, but they're working on that. And I've seen their latest iteration. And so that should be fixed now. Some of the public comments, there are quite a few public comments for this project. Things like height of trees on adjacent shading adjacent property with gardens. And they would have liked to see the trees at a height that they could still have sun so that their gardens can be maintained. Solar table maintenance was a big consideration too, and any kind of damage that would be done with kids sticking mud or sticks or things like that in the charging ports, and what was going to be done with that. The green infrastructure location and where that would be. We had a couple comments about that as well. To see if we could maybe capture some of the runoff for the parking lot. The shelter orientation and restrooms. Those were also comments about the restrooms either facing inward or outward to the park for either visibility or to, for, the view of the park. One letter that staff did receive after the Planning Commission hearing was from a resident that outlined some of the concerns that the other residents had said in the meeting, but adding that, quote, "We don't need parking for 14 cars." And she shared with me that the increase in parking amenities would encourage people outside of the community to use the park. And I just wanted to, I just think it's important every once in a while to look back at the vision and mission statements that we have in our master plans, just to kind of remind everybody of like what we're all about and where we've come from and where we're headed and why. So I just wanted to read that vision statement and mission statement one more time, just so that, everybody can kind of hear it one more time. I think it's important. It's to enrich the quality of life for residents of Mission and surrounding areas by fostering a strong sense of community and providing a variety of multi-generational activities that promote healthy lifestyles and to become the most integrated, connected, and accessible parks and recreation system in Northeast Johnson County. So I thought that was a distinction that I just wanted to add there to that. Otherwise, I don't have any more comments.
Okay, thank you. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on this issue? Do we have anyone online? See Kim again.
Kim Donaway, Mission resident. I'm speaking for my son and daughter-in-law who live right across from the park. And the one big concern is about the restrooms. And they want to know, like they do over at the Broadmoor, to make sure they get locked at night because they're concerned about their safety. And that's something huge for them right now, and they didn't say it in the comments. So that's really big for those people around there because you don't know who's going to be hiding in those bathrooms. So that would also be relevant on which way they're going to be facing. Number two is, will the park close? Will you have traffic all night long? Because they're not in favor. Those people that live in that area aren't in favor of 14 more parking spots. When most of the time you don't have most of those parking spots being filled anyway, because I'm over there all the time visiting my grandbaby. So they're really questioning the use of that many parking spots because the few that are there very rarely, except when they're picking kids up from school, which is very relevant because there's a ton of them that walk down from the school to that park and then parents pick up and then they're gone. But most of the time there's nobody, you have 3 to 4 cars, that's it. And then you have more parking spaces still available. So are we wasting the resources of having additional parking spots when it's not necessary? So consider that. And there was one other thing and I forgot. So thank you.
Okay, I would open this up to council discussion. Do we have any comments or questions from council? Yeah, Ken?
I just also want to thank Penn and his staff and all the work that's been done in planning for these parks and this particular one. Just a clarification that the minutes from the planning commission are available to the council, and those comments were included in the minutes. So we have been made apprised of the minutes and the comments that your son and others have made, even though it wasn't presented here. That's all for now.
Mayor, I might just add to, just to address, so the orientation of the restrooms was designed, and location was designed, consideration was given to the ability for our public safety officers as they are patrolling to be able to have better sight lines into the park. The restrooms will lock. And just like existing and in our other parks, we do have park hours. So if we have people who are in the park after hours, that can be addressed.
Great. Thank you. Any further questions?
Mayor, I move that the city.
Jumping ahead of me this time. I would now entertain a motion on the preliminary development plan for Waterworks Park.
Mayor, I move that the city council approve a preliminary development plan for Waterworks Park at 5814 West 53rd Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Robin, please call the roll.
Ryard. Aye. Crane.
Aye.
Thomas.
Yes.
Loudon.
Aye.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we will now move into our committee reports. Councilmember Reinhardt, will you please provide a report from the Finance and Administration Committee?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Finance and Administration Committee met on July 5th and considered 9 items. The meeting minutes, Milhaven HOA picnic at Mohawk Park, resolution updating bank signatories and resolution updating authorized users, and the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool were approved under the consent agenda. The tax abatement policy and resolutions of intent to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate for the 2023 budget for the city of Mission, Rock Creek Drainage District number 1 and Rock Creek Drainage District number 2 will be considered under the regular agenda this evening. Mission's current tax abatement policy, Council Policy 116, was approved in May 2007. It was drafted to ensure there was a foundation for the consideration of requests for tax abatement, but has not been used since its adoption. Two developers, 58th Knoll and Millhouse, have requested consideration of both sales and property tax abatements in connection with their proposed multifamily property projects, and staff initiated a review of the existing council policy to ensure it could align more closely with the current council's goals and objectives related to the development and the use of incentive tools. The updated policy seeks to clearly define the purpose, scope, and policy of the governing body when considering any request for property tax abatement. Like other economic development incentives, the decision to approve the tax abatement tool is completely discretionary, and no decision to grant or deny property tax abatement and/or tax incentives shall serve as a precedent for any future decisions. The proposed policy establishes a standard tax abatement percentage, 45%, assuming the project meets other threshold criteria. The policy then outlines additional abatement criteria and potential adjustments, increases over 45%, that could be earned by a developer. It also establishes some clear parameters, yet provides flexibility for the city, allowing for each project to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis, and includes the obligations of the developer to cover costs incurred by the city in the review and evaluation of any request, and the bond or originating fees to be paid by the developer should the city approve the request for tax abatement. Mayor, I move the city council adopt the new tax abatement policy and repeal and replace city council policy 116.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Yep. Question.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Nope, sorry.
Yes, Debbie?
I was here in 2007, voted against a tax abatement policy. I'm here in 2023. I'm voting against it again. You can't take a community of this size, 2.5 square miles, put apartments in them, which we need apartments, have abatement in taxes of sales tax and property tax, and look at other apartments that are adjacent that aren't asking for anything and we're caving. And I just don't believe in it. Here we have on one hand, a mill levy proposal increase, and the developer we know nothing about who's going to be in there, gets a break. Something's wrong with this picture.
I totally agree with that.
Yes, Laura?
So just some points of clarification. So tax abatement is different than TIF. So we're talking about property taxes only. In TIF, depending on the type of development, it may involve both property tax and sales taxes. In the case of this tax abatement policy, so there is then an exemption for sales tax on the purchase of materials and construction, which is used pretty regularly by cities. We have not used the property tax abatement tool. It is for a maximum 10-year period of time versus a maximum of 20 years, which is allowed in a TIF district, and in a community improvement district, which is an additional sales tax that's layered on. That's a 22-year period. So this policy would address potential abatements for a 10-year period of time. I do think just on pages 60 through 63 of the draft audit that you received, there's some really, I think, helpful summaries of the TIF districts and the use of the incentive tools that are currently in place, and talking about the incentives. And so I think it's important, and I meant to say this during our work session and failed to. Certainly understand it has to be a balance, and whether it's tax abatement or TIF, we go through a very extensive process of evaluating the need for the incentives for the project to proceed. And I think the council has been, the direction that we received in putting this policy together was to really say, let's put some clear parameters. The existing policy that we had in place, which had not been used, would have allowed for up to 100% of a tax abatement. The policy that's before you this evening caps, except in an exceptional circumstance, that abatement at 75%. it really starts at 45%, assuming you get over some basic thresholds. And then you have to incorporate sustainability, affordable housing, other community benefits in order to increase that. So I think this policy specifically has been designed to not give away all of the taxes over that period of time. We've had a couple of projects, the first TIF project that we did in the city that allocated 100%, but two projects where we've allocated 100% of that TIF revenues, and that was Mission Crossing and the EPC project. In both of those cases, the developer also gave something back, whether that was a donation of land or a financial contribution. In the case of Mission Crossing, to develop Legacy Park and put the improvements in. And in the case of EPC, we secured 50 public parking spaces on the first floor of the garage, plus an additional $250,000 in cash up front, as opposed to shortening the term of the TIF term. So I think it is always a balancing act. It is always, as Councilmember Reichert said, completely discretionary, and the council will evaluate that at each stage of the game. And so I think it's the Mission Bowl residents at Rock Creek project, for example, that's not 100% TIF. That's a sliding. It starts at 90%. So I think we've moved in the direction of making sure that we have revenues available immediately to the city in the event of these new developments. For example, as I was reading the draft of the audit, there are only 7 years left in the 20-year TIF on Mission Crossing. And 7 years, that full value will come back onto our tax rolls. So we have, I think, tried to use the tools judiciously, and we've tried to craft a policy that communicates the things that we want to see developers do in our community in order to be considered for the use of those incentives. But I meant to point that out when we were talking about the audit and during our work session.
Yes, Debbie.
4 times in the whole background on the proposed tax abatement policy, I read council's priorities and values. And I looked in there and I said, my value does not align with a developer over my constituents. That's why they put me in office for 24 years, I believe. I'm looking out for their best interest. And quite honestly, being in a governing body, it's a balancing act between looking out what's in the best interest of the city and looking out what's best interest of your constituents. I voted before in a TIF for the Gateway, which went awry. We all know that. This is the comparison. It's apples and oranges. What do the residents in this city that are paying their taxes get out of giving a tax abatement to a developer we don't know, adding more people to the streets, potentially adding more police, more public works? What did they get at the Gateway? The diversification of restaurants, apartments, movies. I looked at what was in the best interest from my perspective at the time for the people in Mission. Tell me what the citizens of Mission who pay their taxes every year and don't get abatements, and the other apartment complexes who aren't asking for anything, tell me what they're getting out of this. I fail to understand.
Well, and you will see, if you have an application that comes forward, there will be a cost benefit analysis that will illustrate exactly those things. We haven't been through that process, and there's not a similar cost benefit analysis. There's a different tool statutorily that's required when you consider a tax abatement. And we have been we have been working, waiting for a policy to be approved to be able to then start to move into those actual numbers and comparisons. But that will all be presented as you evaluate, is there, I mean, I think it answers that question for you. What does the larger community have to gain from this potential development?
And one response, Bruce Kimmel, our financial advisor, was looking at the qualification criteria for at least one particular group who is looking for the tax abatement policy in their best interest. Do we have any feedback from Bruce yet?
No, he's currently working. I mean, I think the direction that I had from the mayor is we don't want to get too far down the path with spending time evaluating without knowing what the parameters of a policy would be. So all the work that we could do, so all of the inputs that Bruce would need, and there's an individual that performs the cost benefit analysis because that is outside the scope of the work that Ellers does. So we have aligned and we have connected the developers. And they've escrowed funds to pay for that work, but we are ready and poised, and my voicemail inbox is full checking on the status, but we have Bruce and folks ready to kind of plug the numbers, look at those percentages, and then be able to come back and give you that comprehensive report about those things. So we've gone as far as we can go without having the policy formally adopted.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment and I'll turn to Ken. And I would just say, this has come up before, but I would again reject the premise that if you are pro economic development and pro considering incentives on a case by case basis, only where it meets the but-for case, and in this case, also the cost benefit analysis, that you are against your residents. And I understand that we can all have different philosophical positions and policy prerogatives on whether this is the right tool, but I think that all of us up here are trying to do what's best for our residents and best for our community. Ken?
I'm speaking in favor of adopting this policy. It was clear during the work session that we had regarding this abatement policy that this was not specific to any particular project that we were thinking about, but it was a concept overall that it tightens up the basis by which we evaluate each project that comes before us. And based on that, I think that this policy is a much improved matter in relationship to the one that was currently, or that is currently in place. So I do support the adoption of this policy.
Do we have any further comments?
Mayor.
Oh, yeah, Ben, then Trent.
Yeah, that was one thing that Ken just mentioned that I wanted to say as well is, we're considering a policy, not a particular project here. So Ken, thanks for reminding us of that. But from my reading and understanding of the existing policy and the one that's proposed this evening, what we're looking at this evening is strictly raising the bar for what it takes to get this kind of incentive, and also reducing the scope of how large those incentives can be. So please, someone correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but to me, this seems like a question of not sort of opening the floodgates for developer incentives, but being much more deliberate and giving more consideration to a project when it's on the table.
Yep. Yeah, Trent, and then Hillary.
Yeah, really just echoing that. I mean, this just makes it more stringent. This makes the amount of money that we could potentially put on the table for them less. And it provides better guardrails, in my opinion, for our citizens and for our taxpayers. And there will be times, I do agree with Debbie that there will be times when it's not appropriate to grant incentives to a particular development. And we always will retain that right. But we do know that the developers will be asking. And when they do ask, I want bona fide, rock solid guardrails like this that move the ball forward in our city's interest to be in place rather than something that's a little more nebulous and vague. So I'll be in favor of this.
Yeah, Hillary.
We've talked for a long time about codifying incentives along with our values. I think that does that. I am curious, Laura, our intent to explore TIF and CID, is that on the docket next? Because I'd like to see us be consistent with some of the parameters we're setting for developers.
Yes, I think the intention was focused here because we have two developers who have approached us over the course of the last year. But I think that many of these provisions can be translated into similarly into TIF and CID policies. So that would be a next step.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, Robin, please call for the roll.
Inman,
Nay.
Ryard. Aye. Loudon,
Aye.
Thomas,
Yes.
Josie,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Pring,
Nay.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right.
We did have a motion this time. I didn't mess up again. Some of us didn't have power for 72 hours and are still a little thrown off this week. All right, Mary.
Yep. Formal council resolutions. Oh, wait. Am I? No. Okay, sorry. Okay. Formal council resolutions are required to ensure Mission can capture the appropriate revenue when planning for the 2023 budget. A mill levy rate of 18.5% has been proposed for the 2024 budget. The mill levy may always be reduced following the public hearing in September, but it may not be increased once notice is given to the county by the July 20th deadline. 3 separate resolutions have been prepared, which gives the county notice of our intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate, and which establish the date and time of the required public hearing, which will be held during a special city council meeting on Wednesday, September 6, 2023. Mayor, I move the city council approve the resolution for the city of Mission providing notice of the governing body's intent to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate for the 2024 budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, and I would do, I guess, a check for public comment as well. Yes, Kim.
Kim Donaway, Mission resident. Whether you all are aware of it or not, the residents of Mission are very angry because I don't know how many of you really go out and talk to different people that live here. We are really angry, and all of them are sick and tired of money being given away, mill rates going up. When I spoke with Representative Shu a year ago about property taxes and about mill levies and about dropping it, he said the legislation actually was passed. So that way, when cities, if they drop their mill levy rates, they didn't have to raise it back up. They did not have to take it to a vote to the public. So that was the point of that legislation a couple years ago, because I talked to the representative about it. But the people are angry. And if I'm being asked to subsidize a multi-million-dollar thing that you guys have already approved, so they don't get any property tax, and I'm subsidizing all these new people, and so are the rest of these longtime residents, we are angry. You are forcing people out. I'm seeing the thing, I have a starter house. My property tax with what I figured was showing up here is going to go over $4,000 a year. How can anybody have affordable housing? You can't do it and keep it. The residents are angry. I was informed about what was given away at this big thing, complex going up, because I wasn't paying attention before. And I don't believe some of you really understand how angry the residents are. They just don't speak up. There's a lot of apathy. I'm one of the few, and longtime people know I'm pretty vocal. And if other people aren't going to speak up, then I will. But I have to tighten my belt. There's a lot of work I'd love to do too on my property, but the money's not there. It's not coming in. The city needs to do that too. So instead of considering abatements and raising mill levies that penalize us current residents, but the new residents get to live scot-free, and the developers go for years with millions of dollars, because I'll sit down and do the spreadsheets again like I did a few years ago and presented to financing. The residents in this city are tired of being penalized and can't afford to live here. You hear it all the time. Get out and walk down your streets and talk to everybody. And let's frame the narrative, the question. Would you rather have your property taxes go up because we want to do this? Let's change how the question is asked, because you can manipulate a question all day long, because I see the surveys, but it's a manipulation. Does anybody want their property tax to go up? No. We have extra special assessments in this city that wasn't even discussed on the property tax, besides 54% of it going to the schools. But we residents in Mission, because I have properties in several cities, I can lay them all out. What's the special assessments? But
And that is 3
Anyway.
minutes, Kim.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate it.
All right. I don't think I saw any other council hands, so Robin, please call the roll.
Trustee
Aye.
Thomas,
Yes.
Davis,
Aye.
Green,
Nay.
Ryder,
Aye.
Boltinghouse,
Aye.
Inman,
Nay.
Loudon,
Nay.
motion carries.
You want me to just roll into the next motion?
Yes.
Mayor, I move the city council approve the resolution for Rock Creek Drainage District Number 1, providing notice of the governing body's intent to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate for the 2024 budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Robin.
I
please-
just, let
oh,
me
yeah.
just be clear. This is, I think, as I mentioned before, you serve as the governing entity for the drainage district. So Rock Creek Drainage District 1 is exclusive specifically to the Mission Gateway site. So the only parcels being assessed, the fees for Rock Creek Drainage District Number 1 are the parcels that are inclusive of the Gateway site.
And Laura, just to clarify, the rates that are presented for both of the drainage districts are higher than the revenue neutral rate, but are not an increase over last year. Is
Correct.
that
They
correct?
exceed revenue neutral, but they are consistent with the rate being charged in the 20 to fund the 2023 budget.
Okay. Yes, Debbie?
Okay, based on where we are with Gateway, if there's parcels that we're looking at a potential increase, will we possibly get any of that money back?
Well, that money will still be due and payable to the city. Any, just like regular taxes or their special assessments, the drainage district revenues are due and payable. But as you know, we don't control the collection of that until such time as the county determines it to be delinquent and pursues it in some fashion. So doesn't eliminate at whatever point that happens, that those revenues are all still due to us. That's Rock Creek Drainage District 2, just so we can move through the next one, is was established that basically runs from Roland Drive through Lamar and follows the creek. So there are a variety of properties there. Again, those properties are assessed an additional mill to fund drainage improvements. We've made 30 million plus worth of drainage improvements through that property, taking many of those properties out of the 100-year floodplain as a result of that.
Okay, seeing no
Mayor,
more.
can I ask?
Oh, yes, Ghost Ben.
Yeah. Laura, I just wanted to verify my understanding that when there are unpaid property taxes and special assessments on a parcel, those really are due until they're either paid or the property goes to tax sale, or is there any other way to discharge those?
I mean, if a property were to, typically when a property goes into the process of whatever is being handled with the delinquency, there might be a request to consider a reduction in assessments. But again, that's at the city's discretion. There's nothing that automatically alleviates the responsibility for any of those properties.
Thank you very much.
Okay, seeing and hearing no more hands, Robin, please call the roll.
Green,
Aye.
Ryder,
Aye.
Josie,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
Boltinghouse,
Aye.
Thomas,
Yes.
Loudon. Aye. Motion carries.
All right, last motion. Mayor, I move the city council approve the resolution for Rock Creek Drainage District Number 2, providing notice of the governing body's intent to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate for the 2024 budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this one? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Loudon. Aye. Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Ryder,
Aye.
Thomas,
Yes.
Inman,
Aye.
Josie,
Aye.
motion carries.
And Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Loudon, will you please provide a report from the Community Development Committee?
The Community Development Committee also met on July 5th and considered 10 items. The meeting minutes, sponsor agreement for Planning Sustainable Places Grant Number 2, flooring for the Powell Community Center conference space, and North Breezeway wood staining at the Powell Community Center were approved under the consent agenda. A design agreement for Row Avenue, the 2024 CARS project, a 2023 stormwater system inspection project agreement, interlocal with Johnson County for 2023 stormwater system inspection project, and Broadmoor Trail construction will be considered under the regular agenda this evening. 7E, design agreement for Row Avenue, the 2024 CARS project. Row Avenue, Johnson Drive to 63rd Street project is included in the city's 5-year capital improvement and 5-year CARS program for construction in 2024 at an estimated cost of $1,740,000. The scope of work includes a 2-inch mill and overlay sidewalk installation on the east side of Row Avenue between Johnson Drive and West 59th Street, spot sidewalk and curb replacement, retaining walls, stormwater repairs, traffic signal buyout, and replacement at the intersection of Row Avenue, and pavement markings. The design agreement with Olson includes design services, utility coordination, easement acquisition, project management, and bid construction phase services. This project will be administered by the City of Mission and is a joint project with the cities of Fairway, Roland Park, and Prairie Village. Design and construction costs will be split between Mission, Fairway, Roland Park, and Prairie Village. Mayor, I move the City Council approve a task order with Olson for design of Row Avenue project from Johnson Drive to 63rd Street in an amount not to exceed $105,657.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this item? Yes, Debbie?
I know it's not appropriate for this particular line item, but down the road, I'd really like to look into the cost analysis for burying our utility lines. I know it's expensive, but it's costing a small fortune for staff, the utility company, et cetera, to keep up with these storms. Down the road, I would like that as a discussion item, please.
Okay, seeing no other hands, Robin, please call roll.
Ryder. Aye. Davis.
Aye.
Thomas.
Yes.
Josie.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Crane.
Aye.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Loudon.
Aye.
Motion carries.
7F, 2023 Stormwater System Inspection Project Agreement. In the last 10 years, Mission has had a considerable problem with sinkholes caused by the deteriorating stormwater infrastructure. In an effort to be more proactive, funds to begin work on an updated inventory and condition assessment are budgeted in the capital improvement program. The Johnson County Stormwater Management Program will provide up to 50% matching funds for structures and pipes with an estimated risk of 3.2 or higher. Matching funds are not provided for infrastructure with no inspection data or risk factors less than 3.2. The city's last stormwater system inspection was completed in 2020 by BHC Roads. Following the 2020 inspection, staff submitted an application in 2022 to SMP for BHC Roads to inspect remaining structures and pipes with an estimated risk of 3.2 or higher for 2023 funding, with an estimated total project cost of $142,876. And SMP matching funds of $71,438. The scope of services was based on using a pipe camera for shorter pipe segments and a crawler camera for pipe runs exceeding 150 linear feet. This methodology was used for the previous inspection in 2020. However, it was determined in early 2023 that more accuracy is needed in order to thoroughly inspect and assign an accurate risk rating to all structures and pipe. City staff subsequently requested that Trek Design Groups LLC submit a new scope of services using the crawler camera for all pipes runs regardless of length. This project has a total project cost of $175,536 and SMP project share of $87,768. Mayor, I move the City Council approve an agreement with Trek Design Groups LLC to perform stormwater system inspections in an amount not to exceed $179,962.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Davis.
Aye.
Boltinghouse,
Aye.
Thomas.
Yes.
Pring,
Aye.
Ryder,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
Josie,
Aye.
Loudon,
Aye.
motion carries.
7G interlocal with Johnson County for 2023 Stormwater Systems Inspection Project. The interlocal agreement specifies that county's policy and procedure, stormwater system inspection requirements, the county's contribution towards project costs, 50% of the total project cost of $175,536 or $87,768, and commits the city to commits the city's funds to the project. Approval of the interlocal agreement will cancel the original application and requests for funds originally submitted in 2022. Total project costs of $142,876 and SMP funds, matching funds of $71,438, and is the final step with the county to accept 2023 funds for this project. There is currently funding available in the stormwater utility funds for this project. Mayor, I move the city council approve the interlocal agreement with Johnson County for the 2023 stormwater system inspection project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Loudon,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
Ryder,
Aye.
Pring,
Aye.
Thomas.
Yes.
Josie,
Aye.
No.
I said, aye, sorry, didn't catch
Oh,
that.
sorry.
thank you. Boltinghouse,
Aye.
motion carries.
Go.
7H Broadmoor Trail Construction. In 2019, the city contracted with Confluence to begin master planning improvements for each of the city's major parks. Improvements to the Broadmoor Parks Trail have been a long-standing priority of the Parks Recreation and Tree Commission. The project includes a 10-foot concrete perimeter trail, ADA trail, access points, and grading that supports the safety and accessibility goals. Based on a review and evaluation of the bids, staff recommends the approval of a contract with Gunter Construction Company for Broadmoor Park Trail improvements, base bid and bid alternative, in the amount not to exceed $306,935. Construction is anticipated to begin September 2023 and be completed in January 2024. This project is funded from the 2023 Park System Improvements Budget, Parks and Rec Sales Tax, identified in Parks and Recreation Capital Improvement Plan. Mayor, I move the City Council approve a contract with Gunter Construction Company for Broadmoor Park Trail improvements in an amount not to exceed $306,935.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, Debbie?
Long anticipated. Can't wait for it to go in. Thanks so much.
Yeah, Mary?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's really exciting to see both Waterworks and Broadmoor on the same agenda together. And Penn, I just wanted to thank you for all of your work on this and for PRT to work to get the sales tax, campaigning for that. So really excited. Thanks.
Hooray, Parks. All right. Robin, will you please call the roll?
Boltinghouse,
Aye.
Josie,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Thomas,
Yes.
Loudon,
Aye.
Ryder,
Aye.
Pring,
Aye.
motion carries.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
All right, thank you. We do not have any unfinished business tonight, so we will move into our new business. We do have 3 items of new business. Our first item is acceptance of the 2022 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. Mr. Scott, could you please share the details with the council if there is anything further on this item? Okay, nothing further. I would entertain a motion on this item.
Mayor, I move the City Council accept the audited financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Thomas,
Yes.
Josie,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Pring,
Aye.
Loudon,
Aye.
Ryder,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Our second and third items of new business tonight both relate to the heavy storms that impacted Mission residents and businesses last week. The first is consideration of a state of emergency and disaster proclamation, and the second is approval of rates for storm debris removal. Ms. Smith, could you please share the details with council?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So when we have situations that arise like this, we've done it before in the case of major storm events. The last time we issued or declared a state of emergency was related to the COVID-19 pandemic. But what you have before you is a emergency declaration or proclamation that aligns with the authority granted to the mayor through the municipal code section 250.030 to declare that emergency. And really what that does is it just sort of temporarily sets aside some of the normal, particularly related to purchasing policies and practices so that we can move more quickly. In some instances, not in this case, the emergency can be declared by the mayor and then the council has to act on that to either amend it, approve it, confirm it, or rescind it within 7 days of that original declaration. In this case, as we've looked at and assessed kind of the damage that we've had, and we've been in contact, the chief's been in contact as part of our emergency operations to look at the county. Several of our neighboring cities have declared the emergency declaration. There is a countywide threshold in these situations, a countywide threshold for expenditures and a statewide threshold that has to be met in occurrence. At this point, Johnson County doesn't believe we will meet the countywide threshold for them to declare an emergency, but this preserves our ability in the event that things come together in the coming weeks as cities really look at restoration and recovery, that we would be able, if there is county, state, or federal funding available. So this is really, and we've written this both kind of a combined proclamation and confirmation at one time, and the proclamation would remain in effect until further notice or until such time as it deemed appropriate to rescind or modify by the mayor. So it's hard to anticipate at this point how long it will take us to get through all of the storm cleanup in the neighborhoods. But I would imagine that by mid to late August, we would be in a position to look at rescinding the emergency declaration.
All right. And Laura, did you want to comment on the storm debris piece now or wait?
I can do that now. I put a memo at your place. I know I've shared information over the weekend kind of as things were occurring, but I did want to just provide kind of a summary of where we are. We're still working through many of those issues. I think, although the mayor may have been one of the last ones in town to have power restored, I do think, according to the Evergy outage map, power is back throughout our communities. We had some areas in town where the meters were actually pulled from the houses, and that requires a private electrician to come out and then some additional inspections. So our inspection staff has been working to really expedite that as best we can. Some of the biggest issues we experienced were at the community center that was without power really until about noon on Sunday, I think, right? Saturday. We came back on Saturday. We're experiencing some sort of lingering effects in some of our HVAC equipment, some of which is under warranty, some of which is not. So we're in the process of evaluating that, provide updates as we can. Again, because of power outage on Wednesday and Thursday, and then again on Friday and Saturday, the backup battery system on the south side of the building didn't have the opportunity to fully recharge. So we're in the process of assessing kind of the useful life of that system and whether we need to accelerate the replacement. The roof held up fairly well. Some leaks in the auditorium around the new skylights, which are still under warranty, so we're pursuing that. We used about 250 gallons of diesel fuel to keep the generator running, to keep the facility as operational as we could. Staff did a phenomenal job of staying in touch with rental patrons. We had a 200+ person wedding reception in the building on Saturday evening that was able to sort of go off without a hitch. So pretty impressive. And it's just, I mean, it's all the things we're at about $7,500 in storm related costs without the invoices for the pool. The MFAC, they were able to finally get that up and rebalance the chemicals. We lost a park bench along the Rock Creek Trail, and then just limbs and things that are down in our parks. Talked about the Evergy Public Works crews did a tremendous job. Most of the roadways were opened up by Saturday at 9 p.m. 2 locations that remained closed. They actually had, I think, the lion's share of the streets opened up by Friday evening. I think they were here till 10 or 11 o'clock. There were 2 locations that remained closed due to live power lines being down, 67th Street at Horton and Woodson Road between 61st Terrace and 62nd Street. Those streets were opened up on Monday afternoon. By Sunday evening, all the traffic signals were back up to full operation throughout the city. Public Works staff is now focused on just clearing out anything that wasn't sort of a high priority to remove. Last weekend, the street super will be making a full pass through the city. And then once we do that, we'll evaluate whether a second pass is needed. We did have some minimal streetlight damage, but the on-call contractor is aware of that and the locations where we think we may have concerns. And so we should have those repairs made by the end of this week. And then we're everybody, as the sky darkens periodically throughout the days, everybody's kind of keeping an eye on additional weather. The police department responded to 73 calls for service related to the storm, and that doesn't include the dozens and dozens of limbs that the officers were pulling from the street, including our chief, who was out in his rain gear on Friday afternoon. We've documented damage around town with a camera that will help us in the event that we do have the opportunity to apply for reimbursement of funds. As I mentioned, the county at this point, though, is indicating they do not think that they will be at a point to declare the disaster at the county level. At this time, there appear to be no lingering impacts for the storm here at Police and City Hall. We were without power until Sunday evening and we're running off of generators. There are some reliability issues that we were aware of with our generators in this building prior to the storm. And so we're continuing to assess those and address future needs. And then over the weekend, I shared out some of the preliminary statistics from CFD2 about the number and the volume of calls. I would imagine that once they have a chance to kind of return to normal, they will be happy to come and share a more comprehensive debrief and update. I think the biggest damage that everybody suffered was tree damage throughout the community. It was very extensive. We made the decision Friday evening, like many of other neighboring communities, to offer a curbside pickup and communicated that via social media and our website. So we were able to assess the damage and finalize arrangements with a contractor. And then we've been messaging this week about updates on how to actually prepare the limbs so they can be handled appropriately by the contractor. Curbside collection will begin on Monday. That's always the tricky part. And I think I mentioned to you all over the weekend, there will be some people for whom that's not fast enough and some who it's not enough time because they may be on vacation. And the majority will be happy that we're offering that service. So we'll find that balance. And the contractor, as we did, so the last time we did curbside collection was in January of 2019, following Winter Storm Gia. The contractor will start in the northern part of the city and sort of just methodically work their way south. The contractor, because the facility where we are able to dump will not take bagged yard waste, even in paper bags. The curbside contractor will not be picking up those. So I think updated messaging today on social media, and we'll continue to monitor that. That's still available through GFL. And so we'll work with residents and we may have to ration, they may have to ration.
And that's 10 bags a week, is that right? For
Yes,
GFL?
10 bags a week. Or talk to your neighbor if they don't have any bags. I really can't say enough. And I was going to say it under my report, but I can say it here. I mean, I don't know why I continue to be surprised after 30 years of being in this business, but it's impressive to watch our team kind of just seamlessly step into action when something like this happens. You just know what to anticipate, and everybody is always sort of one step ahead. And they all gave up. Many of them were dealing with power outages and damage at their own residences and a variety of other situations, but it makes me proud, and I cannot thank them enough for everything they have done since Friday's storm and continue to do, so.
Hey Laura, I have a question for you in regards to, are we going to require homeowners that their box was pulled away from the house to get a permit through the city? And if so, how much does that cost?
Yes, they are required, so they have to have a permit to have that work done, and I don't know the cost. Do you know the cost?
I don't know the cost off my head either, but yes, they are required to get a permit. And we'll do the inspection once that work is done.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Okay, I would entertain a motion on the state of emergency and disaster proclamation.
Mayor, I move the city council approve and confirm the state of emergency disaster proclamation related to the July 14th, 2023 storm event.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further council questions or discussion on this item? Yeah, Debbie?
Had any inquiries about needing extra trash provisions because they're throwing, I mean, I had to clean out my whole refrigerator and it took up a lot of bags. I didn't know if anybody had inquired about any.
GFL is not. Several of the cities have been in conversation. They are not offering any sort of amnesty. If you find someone in that situation, please direct them to City Hall and we'll assist them through that process.
All right, Robin, please call the roll.
Crane,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
Josie,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Thomas. Yes. Loudon. Aye. Ryder.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I would now entertain a motion on the approval of rates for storm debris removal.
Mayor, I move the city council approve collection and disposal rates associated with curbside storm debris collection and removal with Kansas City Tree Care LLC.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on this item? Yeah, Ken, then Debbie.
I was just wondering if you start at the northern end, finish, is there a circle back provision that's going to be?
We'll deal with that on a kind of a case by case basis. So I think the last time we always have to go deal with something, but the more we advertise that on the front end, the more stragglers we have.
Right.
So we'll really encourage people to be ready by next Monday.
Thank you.
Yeah, Debbie.
Just an FYI, per Kristen, Kansas City Tree Care LLC the owner is a Mission resident, actually lives in Ward 3.
Yes.
And they are the same contractor that did our last curbside,
So they
right?
did, correct. They did our last curbside collection in January of 2019, and their work was very satisfactory, both in terms of timeliness, and I think they're very fair to us. The challenge in these kinds of events is that everybody is looking for tree contractors at the same time. So you have to move quickly. Their rates, while not exactly the same as 2019, I think are very fair and based on, increases in dumping fees. As I mentioned earlier, we spent about $60,000 for cleanup in 2019. It's hard to tell. I've been driving the city some, so I think we will be at or above that level probably with this pickup, but we'll report all of that back and kind of a final conclusion of how things ended up.
Great. All right, Robin, please call the roll.
Loudon.
Aye.
Crane.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Josie,
Aye.
Ryder.
Aye.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Thomas. Motion carries.
All right, there being no further business items for consideration, we will move into comments from the city council. This is an opportunity for comments from our council members. Does anyone on the council have something they'd like to share? Yes, Hillary?
Yeah, kudos to staff on everything you did. Laura already sang praises, so I won't repeat that, but I would echo Debbie Kring's comments about bearing our lines. I would really appreciate us actually, having a conversation about that. I know it's costly. I know Overland Park's had some conversations through the years. I don't know if they've been public facing or not, but maybe that could be a good place to start to get some cost estimates. Would just love to learn more and begin the conversation.
Yeah, Debbie?
It's just a reminder that tomorrow evening at the Powell Community Center, 7 p.m., we'll hold a Ward 3 meeting. All are invited.
Yes, Kim?
I just also want to say thank you to staff, all of staff and what you did. I know that there were some late hours, there was some last minute turmoil that nobody expected, and really do appreciate all the work that you guys did. All departments, thank you.
All right, next we have our council committee liaison reports. These reports allow the entire governing body to stay up to date with the various activities of our boards, commissions, and committees. First will be council members Kring and Thomas for the Sustainability Commission. I see pointing at each other.
Okay, well, I had to leave early, but I've got all the minutes, so I can update everybody, and I'll kick it to Emily at some point. I will share that a number of the Sustainability Commission members were excited to hear about the tax abatement policy potential as it relates to the sustainability provisions. That's something that a number of the members were excited about. So I want to share that just personally. I want to share that we've got a climate action task force meeting coming up next week on Tuesday. And this meeting that we had was just last Monday. Also shared was a SWIG scorecard. There is a ribbon cutting for the JOCO Transit opening of the 487 line that will be taking folks from the Mission Transit Center to the Lenexa Civic Center with a stop in downtown Overland Park. Pretty cool. That's a cool line. Yeah, we should all go ride it. Yes, I love it.
Will there be information going out to council on that ribbon cutting?
Yes, Mayor, JOCO Transit is confirming a proper schedule, but really they're looking at I suppose probably the morning of Friday, August 4th. That's as much information as we get so far, but if you could just pencil in your calendar, that'd be great. I expect events at the Mission Transit Center to kick off. We were talking about kind of a rolling ribbon cutting.
Thank you. And then I'd like to kick it back to Emily to talk about the energy audit and grant programs. And then I know Debbie will have more to share on stormwater stuff.
Sure. As I hope you saw in your emails, we launched just before a very horrific storm event and power outage in our community. A big announcement that there's a new energy audit program that residents can apply for. As you know, thanks to your allocation of a new pilot program, the city will be funding up to 15 energy audits for information about weatherization in homes. Then we'll have some funds available on the back end to assist with some of those improvements. We have 2 contractors on board ready to work. So we just need people to go to the website. It's right on the front. If you can help your constituents, we'd love a variety of housing types. So I'd really appreciate it. We've posted across the board on social media and in the Mission Monthly newsletter. So if you could ping your networks, I would love to get applications in soon. We wanted to sort of gather them up and then evaluate them. So in the next 2 weeks, honestly, it would be great. So please spread the word if you'd like.
Debbie, did you have anything to add on that?
I did. Just a reminder, September 23rd, there'll be an environmental fair held at the community center. This will be the 2nd annual. And it was well attended last year, and Terry Ball and the Sustainability Commission does an awesome job of collecting vendors and outside people to come in and see what kind of things they're doing. Secondly, one of my roles is I sit on the Solid Waste Commission for Johnson County. And we held our meeting last week at the new Household Hazardous Waste Facility, which is located at 105th and Maston. Awesome place. They have 3 full-time people that work there. They do everything from paint to metals, to cans, to everything. But the paint that they do, they have white, brown, and Johnson County beige that they mix together, and they put in 5-gallon drums and they sell it for $35. And they have a lot of people coming in. So one person has to stand there and do paint while the other 2 are doing other things and greeting visitors. It's a really neat facility, and I encourage everybody to go out and take a tour.
All right. Next up, we'll hear from council members Loudon and Reinhardt for Parks, Recreation, and Tree Commission.
Your team met on Monday. We were unfortunately not able to make it, Penn. I apologize. But if you have any updates that you wanted to share, we'd love to hear. I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
That's great handoff. Yes, so we covered a walk from Rock Creek Trail, discussion for trying to connect all of the trailways throughout Mission. We reviewed some of the notes that commission members had made during that walk. Some of the takeaways from that were what's the fastest route versus the most solitary route, because sometimes those are mutually exclusive. And, does it always have to be a sidewalk? Can it be a bike ped lane? Those types of things. So I think the takeaway was when the opportunity arises to work with city staff on sort of stakeholder committees, that we'd like a representative from the Park Recreation and Tree Commission to attend that. So I think those intros have already been made with Carrie, which is wonderful. We reviewed some of the upcoming action items. They were all really excited about the progress at Waterworks Park as well as Broadmoor Park. And then we talked about some of the upcoming activities, one of which was yoga on deck this Friday and under the sea pool party next Saturday. And we did a wrap up of the Mission Summer Family Picnic. So a lot of great enthusiasm and support for everything that we're doing. And we look to continue that momentum. You bet.
Okay, next we'll hear an update from Councilmember Boltinghouse on the Mission Magazine editorial board.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, the magazine editorial board did not meet in our recent session, so I will have an update the next week.
Okay. Finally, Councilmember Chosi with the Family Adoption Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. The Family Adoption Committee met on June 29th, and largely we went over kind of a retrospective on the previous year for the Family Adoption Committee and discussed how things are going to look the same and different this year, at least how we anticipate things looking the same and differently in the upcoming year. We're still looking at things like some of our partners like Harvesters having logistic struggles. Let's see. We do have one of our schools that we partner with, actually two under renovation this year. So that'll be something that we try to help those social workers coordinate a little bit better. Looking at a little bit tighter budget and how we can be more effective and creative with fundraising and cost savings. And other than that, just getting ready for another year with the Family Adoption Committee. And that concludes my report.
All right. Next up, we have our city administrators report. Laura, do you have any other items that you would like to share with the city council tonight?
I do, but you're before me if you have anything.
I am on the list, but no, I don't have anything other than to echo thanks again to staff for all of the tough work over the weekend. I was bugging Laura for updates from my inconsistent cell coverage till I moved to a backup location, and she was, sharing how everyone was just stepping up and jumping in. And I think the wedding reception going forward is a really good example of, look, we're going to do everything we can to still make things a success for our community. And so thank you all for your efforts.
A little bit of a long list. So I know we've been here a while, so I'll try to move through this quickly. First, I would just like to say very quickly, I know everyone's aware that we lost a member of our mission family over the weekend in our public works department. These are the times when we realize how important that mission family is to all of us. Still working with the department and really the entire organization to provide whatever support we might need in order to be able to help everyone navigate this time. We've also been coming alongside the family members to support them in whatever ways we can. So just appreciate and recognize the contributions and know we will have opportunities to celebrate all that that employment to all of us. But it's been, I think, definitely complicated the situation and made things a little more stressful. I would like to echo the kudos to Brian on the audit. He did all of the heavy lifting and I didn't have to. I think that probably means I owe him lunch for the next year. 2 years. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. It is, you realize when we have those vacancies and you have to step in because our benches aren't deep. But I think between his work on the audit and my immersion in the budget in some different ways, I think we will be able to pass that knowledge on very effectively to Christine in the coming months. Also kudos to the Parks and Recreation staff for the summer family picnic. And have heard rave reviews. The weather cooperated. The laser light show was popular. I think the Rotary sold out of all of their adult beverages. So great opportunity. And I know that takes a lot of time and effort and energy from Penn and all of his staff. So thanks to them, and we look forward to bringing that back next year. We also have Mohawk ribbon cutting. I think Penn, did you send that email today? Not yet. He's sending it tomorrow, but so spoiler alert. We will be doing a Mohawk ribbon cutting on August 17th at 4 p.m. More information to follow. We'll have contractors. We'll be sharing that publicly as well. And then police department has scheduled, and I think you sent a notice today to the council. They're doing outreach for our apartment communities, multiple apartment communities at Silverwood Apartment next Wednesday, the 26th of July from 6 to 8 p.m. So if you have an opportunity to join them, I think that should be a lot of fun. One last thing before I turn over, I think you have some business updates, very short business updates. Is just, I know, and I think she didn't stay, but Kim raised the question about personal cell phone use. We do, in some instances, provide employees with a cell phone allowance. I will tell you, it is certainly not sufficient to cover the full cost of a monthly cell phone bill. But we also rely on, we do that because we don't require the majority of our employees. There are some exceptions in the police department to carry a work cell phone and a personal cell phone. So most of the time you see that employees are using their cell phones. They are actually using them to conduct city business. We do also have a cell phone use policy in our personnel guidelines. So I think we have those covered sufficiently. And with that, I'll turn it over to Robin for a couple of business updates.
Thank you. I will be very brief. Most of these went out in the Mission Monthly that Emily sent out yesterday, but Collective Salon and Barbershop will open at 5618 Johnson Drive in August. We Create, an art school for children, was formerly in the Mission Mart by Ovation Dance Academy, and they have moved down from 5423 Johnson Drive to 5611 Johnson Drive. No, sorry. To 5423 from 5611, and Ovation Dance Academy at 5611 will expand into their space. So they will be doubling their size and building 2 new dance studios and an amazing sort of reception, dancer hangout area. They're very excited about that. Little Dudes, a boys retail clothing and accessory store, will open in September at 6124 Johnson Drive, where K-Pax by Mitzi was formerly. Profile Cabinet, a custom wood cabinetry company, will open later this summer at 5801 Johnson Drive. KC Weightlifting has opened at 5809 Johnson Drive. And Nella Star, a hair braiding salon, has opened at 5903 Dearborn. That's my report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Robin. All right. We do not have a need for an executive session tonight. So before we adjourn tonight, I want to share with the public that the video from this meeting will be available through a link on our website at missionks.org. There being no further business tonight, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, one question from Debbie.
Sorry. I just want to commend Jim Brown. I have been calling him weekly about a property in disarray, and finally they're doing remediation on it. I'm so thankful, and I appreciate the city taking that over. I really do. Thank you.
All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I'm gonna say you can arm wrestle for who?